Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. So, here's our first stream where we talk about our lessons. So today we're going to be talking about Lesson 1, Conversation 1. So hopefully everybody got to see our first personality. And our first personality is the positive, happy, go get 'em kind of guy. And he's got a good attitude about this party. Now, if you went to a big party and you didn't know anyone, how would you react? Maybe you'd be really nervous. I don't know. I think I would be somewhere around maybe personality number 2, a little bit scared and feel a little bit weird and awkward. But in this conversation, we had a look at somebody who is really positive and optimistic and yeah, it's okay. I'll have a great time at this party on my own. So one phrase that we learned is on my own, right? You're all by yourself, but no problem. You can do it. So today we're going to start by taking a look at our dialogue and then go section by section and take a look at your homework. And you had some translation questions. But remember, English is a very dynamic language. There are many different ways to translate things. Languages change and shift, and so the way I say it might be different than the way you say it. Remember, the most important thing is to communicate and get someone to understand what you're saying, okay? And so everybody who submitted an answer did a great job, and everyone was awesome. And then I'll show you, or I'll tell you a couple ways that I would translate these. And of course, there are many ways to say all of these things. If you watched all the lessons, you should already know. Sometimes you can use one way of saying it, and then sometimes another way of saying it is okay too. They're just slightly different. Maybe you're focusing on a certain part of the language or what you're trying to say, right? So we talked about past simple and used to a couple times. We'll get into it more later, but sometimes they can switch in and out, and that's okay. So there are many ways to say a lot of the same things as long as you get the person to understand what you're trying to say. That's what's most important, right? Okay, so we met our friend Bob, and Bob was in a big costume and looked really cool, right? And so you got to know Bob, and then everything seems to go pretty well. Bob was actually the one who was really nervous. So we helped out Bob and got him a little bit more comfortable in this situation, right? And then through the conversation, we used a lot of different language. And the first thing that we learned about in lesson 1, part 2, was the phrase used to. So just another overview to review what used to is for. Used to is when you're talking about the past, but something changed, right? And so it's something that was a habit, but for some reason that habit changed and you don't do it anymore, right? And so, for example, to talk about myself for a second, I can say, I used to live in America. Do I still live there now? No. It was part of my life and I used to do it, but now I live here in Taiwan with all of you. So we also learned the phrase would often. So would often is talking about a habit from a long time ago. It doesn't always mean that it's gone. It doesn't always mean that it's over, right? But saying would often or would always is about a habit in the past. For example, when I was a kid, I would always go to the beach with my family. We would sit on the sand and relax and then go swimming. We would always do it during the summer. Does that mean I don't go to the beach anymore? No. It's just saying that back then, that was my habit. I did it again and again and again, right? And then we compared used to the past simple. Sometimes they can be the same, right? I used to live in America and I lived in America. It's the same, right? But using used to, the focus is that it changed and it's not the same anymore, right? So sometimes used to and past simple can be the same, but used to makes it extra clear that it's not the same anymore. Okay, now we had our translation questions, right? So let's take a look at how I would translate those into English. And remember, you're not wrong if you did something different than me. There are many ways to translate these, okay? So I'll talk about what I would translate it as and then give some commentary about some of the things I saw some of you do, okay? So, 我18岁前住在墨西哥. So, I would translate this to, I used to live in Mexico before I turned 18. So, I used to live in Mexico before I turned 18. So, the Chinese and the English is actually kind of flipped, right? So, in English, we put the time at the end a lot of the times. So, I used to live in Mexico before I turned 18. So, this means that in the past, I lived in Mexico, but it's not the same, right? And then at the end, I put the time phrase, before I turned 18. In the past, about an age, you can say I turned that age. So I would say I turned 18. You can also say I used to live in Mexico until I was 18. So that means I lived there and then it got to when I was 18 and it changed, right? So I used to live in Mexico until I was 18. Now, one thing that I noticed that some of you did was you did I used to live in Mexico before 18. Or I used to live in Mexico until 18. Now, this is something you need to be careful about. If we're talking about an age, we want to have a subject and a verb. I was 18 or I turned 18. So when you become an age, you can say I turned that age. So some people said before 18, but we need to say before I was 18 or before I turned 18. Okay? Now the next question was 弟弟以前不吃咸酥鸡，但现在压力大狂吃. So I would translate this as, my brother didn't used to eat fried chicken, but now he eats a ton when he feels stressed. So one thing to be careful about, a lot of people put my elder brother or my younger brother. In English, we don't separate your older or younger brother. So Didi would be my younger brother. But in English, we don't really care about how old your brother is. Usually we just say my brother. So my brother didn't used to eat fried chicken, but now he eats a ton when he feels stressed. Stressed out. So here I would say he did not used to. So it was not his habit, right? But something changed. He didn't used to eat fried chicken. Now a lot of people translate 咸酥鸡 in many different ways. This is Taiwanese fried chicken. So if you want to be specific about what this chicken is, you could say Taiwanese fried chicken. Some people translate it as salty, crispy chicken, but that's too specific. And then other people translate it as popcorn chicken. Popcorn chicken is similar, but if you say that, I think about KFC. So we're not talking about KFC. So for this, I would just say Taiwanese fried chicken. And then if the other person asks you, what is that? How is Taiwanese fried chicken different from other fried chicken? Then you can get more specific. You can describe it. Oh, it's a special kind of chopped up chicken with spices and salt and pepper and stuff. Okay? The next question was, 我老板前阵子很常睡公司. So, my boss used to sleep in the office a lot. I would translate this to, my boss used to sleep in the office a lot. You could also say, my boss often used to sleep at the office. So, again, we're putting the place after the verb. So, my boss used to sleep in the office, or my boss used to sleep at the office. Both of these are okay. Now, some people put the word company here. My boss used to sleep at the company. Usually we talk about a company as an idea. if we're talking about where he slept, we are actually talking about a place. And the place for your company is the office, right? So the company is more of the group, the idea, but the actual place where you work is the office. So I wouldn't say my boss slept at the company. I'd say my boss slept at the office. A few people also said my boss used to stay at the office. Now, stay is not bad, but it's not as clear. If you use stay, that just means they spend time in a place. But we want to say that he slept at the office. He's staying too late, okay? And then I also saw some people say the boss slept over at the office. This is okay, but I would still stick with sleep. Sleep over sounds like more of a fun thing. In America, when people have a sleepover, it's maybe when kids will sleep at their friend's house. Like, oh, Jimmy had a sleepover at Johnny's house. Maybe they watched movies and then went to bed. So a sleepover sounds like it's a fun thing. But here in this sentence, it's not very fun, right? Okay. And then the last sentence is, 他之前工作从来没迟到过. So this is talking about her old habits. So I would say she never used to come to work late. So it's a negative habit. She never used to come to work late. Okay? You could also say she didn't used to come to work late. So both of these are ways of saying a negative habit. In the past, she did not do these things, but now she does. So used to is about what you did in the past, but now it's changed and it's over, right? So I used to live in America. I used to be a little boy. I used to be a cute kid. Now I'm an old man. Ugh. So everything's changed, right? So used to is for changes in habits or changes in states, right? And then in the next lesson, lesson 1, part 3, we learned about to be used to. We learned about am used to and not being used to and getting used to things. Now this is very different, right? In the first section, used to means an old habit that changed. But is used to or being used to is about what you're comfortable with, right? You can use this to talk about yourself right now and the way you live your life right now. Or maybe the way you used to live your life. Oh, I'm mixing them together. So the old way of living your life or the way you live your life now. What are you comfortable with? What are you used to, right? The easiest way to practice this is to use it again, okay? So for me, I am used to living in Taiwan. I've been here for a while. I'm comfortable with it, right? Right now, I am used to it. And then if we want to use the past tense, you could say, I got used to living in Taiwan, meaning I became comfortable living here. Maybe when I first got here, I was not used to living in Taiwan. It was a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't know where to go, but now I'm comfortable. So I got used to it, okay? But then there's some things you can never become comfortable with. So for me, I cannot get used to eating stinky tofu. No way. I go crazy if I smell it. No matter what I do, I can't get used to stinky tofu. So some things never change, right? Okay. Now, let's take a look at your questions and the answers. So the first one was, 我习惯每天早起. So is this you? Not for me. I can't get used to this. But the translation for this would be, I'm used to waking up early every day. You're comfortable with it. You do it all the time. Maybe you don't like it, but you're used to it. It's normal for you. It's not a hard thing to do, okay? You could also say, I'm used to waking up early, okay? So I'm used to waking up early every day. I'm used to waking up early. We can put every day or leave it out. You don't need to say every day because we know it's a habit. It's what you're used to. You are comfortable doing it again and again and again. Okay. Our second example was 哥哥习惯早上吃香蕉. So I would translate this as my brother is used to eating a banana every morning. That's actually really healthy. Very good for you. So many people will eat a banana every morning. There are some superheroes that recommend eat a banana every day and you'll be super strong. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. So my brother is used to eating a banana every morning. So here, to show that it's again and again and again, we can put the word every morning. But you don't need that, right? Because by saying is used to, you know that he's comfortable doing it and it's a normal thing for him. So you could say, my brother is used to eating a banana in the morning. Now, a few things that I saw in the comments from you guys. As I said before, a lot of people put elder brother. You don't need to say elder brother. In America, no one says elder brother. Oh, my elder brother. And that's okay. You need to get used to forgetting about older or younger. In America, we don't really use that very often. You just say my brother. Okay? So don't worry about, oh, is he my elder brother or my younger brother? Don't worry about it. Just say my brother. That's easy. Same with my sister. You don't need to say my elder sister, my younger sister. Just say my sister. Okay? And then I also saw some people say my bro is used to eating bananas in the morning. Using bro is okay, but usually bro is for a friend. If you say my bro does this, my bro does that, it sounds like it's your friend and not your brother. For your brother, usually we just say my brother. Okay? Both are okay, but bro sounds like it's probably your buddy, your friend. Okay. The next example was 我的阿公没办法习惯用智慧型手机. So, maybe your grandpa isn't one of those Pokemon Go grandpas. I don't know. So I would translate this as my grandpa can't get used to using a smartphone. So this kind of phone, you can call it a smartphone, right? And then you don't need to say smartphone, of course, right? Because most people just call this a phone. Not many people use the old kind of phone. Do you know what we call an old kind of phone? This is a smartphone, so what do we call an old phone? You guessed it, we call it a dumb phone. Dumb means stupid, so we call it a dumb phone. If you have an old phone from maybe 20 years ago, you might say, I have a dumb phone, or I'm still using a dumb phone. Maybe you could use the words we learned here. I used to have a dumb phone, but now I am used to using a smartphone. Hey. Okay, my grandpa can't get used to using a smartphone. Also, if you want to make it way more intense, if you really want to focus on the 没办法, you can say, it's impossible for my grandpa to get used to using a cell phone. So here, like I said before, you don't need to say smartphone. You could say phone, you could say cell phone. Some books might say mobile phone, but people kind of stopped saying the word mobile phone. We used to say mobile phone, now we just say smartphone, cell phone, or phone. Mobile phone is a little bit old, right? Okay, next is 姐姐搬去印度之后，她习惯上吃咖喱. How about you? Do you like eating this food? I love this kind of food. So I would translate this as, after my sister moved to India, she got used to eating curry. So if you become comfortable with something, you could say get used to. So she got used to eating curry. So we could start with saying, after my sister moved to India, she got used to eating curry. You can also flip it around and say, my sister got used to curry after moving to India. Both are okay. So you could say she got used to eating curry, or you could just say she got used to curry. You can leave out the verb eat, okay? So we can flip it around after she moved there, or put that at the end. Both are okay. So again, we talked about elder brother, younger brother. same thing with sister. You don't need to say my older sister. You could just say my sister, okay? You only would say older sister or younger sister if you want to make sure the person knows who you're talking about. Maybe you have two sisters and you want them to know, oh, it's the older one. So you could say my older sister. But in general, we don't need to do that, okay? Now, next up was talking about past intentions. Section 1.4 was talking about past intentions. So this is talking about the present continuous tense. We can also call it present progressive, right? And so using the present progressive, we could talk about what you were thinking about doing, your intentions. Okay, I got a question. I'll get right back to past intentions. I was going to talk about past intentions, but I saw a question. The question is it okay to write eating bananas in the second sentence? So my brother is used to eating bananas every morning. Yeah, that's fine. So it's totally fine because it's a habit. If it's a habit, you could say a banana or bananas. My brother is used to eating a banana every morning. Or you could say my brother is used to eating bananas every morning. That's fine. If you use a banana, it's focused on that every morning maybe he eats one banana. If you say bananas, you're focusing on in general, he eats bananas, right? So they're both fine. If you're focused on one day at a time, one banana per day, you could say a banana. Or if in general he eats bananas, you can say he is used to eating bananas in the morning. Both are fine because we're talking about habits, things that happen again and again and again. Here's another question about getting used to. Why in that sentence did Kyle say got used to and not gets used to? Okay, so this is asking about the India sentence. So after my sister moved to India, she got used to eating curry. So why is this got and not gets? Well, this is something that already happened. So usually when we use got used to, we are talking about the past, something that already happened. So if it's in the past, we have the past tense of get. So she got used to eating curry back then. So she's already used to it. So right now she's comfortable eating the food. She eats it every day. So before, she got used to it, okay? So the past tense of got makes it clear that it already happened, okay? Using gets with an S, that is the present simple tense. The present simple means a habit that's still happening. So for got used to, it's usually in the past tense. It's kind of rare to say gets used to. So gets used to, we don't often say. This phrase got used to is usually in the past tense because it already happened. You became comfortable with something and now you are comfortable with it, okay? Hopefully that helps. So I was going to start talking about the next one, but then we got a little sidetracked. That's okay. Questions are great. So let's get back to intentions, right? And so our past intentions, what you wanted to do before, but for some reason it didn't happen, right? So in that section, we talked about was going to, was planning to, was hoping to, was intending to, was thinking about, okay? And then we also talked about the past progressive or past continuous in general. When do we use was, verb, ing, okay? We can use that for things that were ongoing in the past. We're talking about a story in the past, what was happening, okay? And we use that because maybe when we're telling a story, something was happening and then something interrupted it. I was studying, but then Spider-Man jumped through my window. Oh, so it's a little bit shocking. you were doing something, I was studying, but then something happened and interrupted it. Ooh. And then we also learned that it's for background events. If you're painting a picture, the rain was falling and I opened my umbrella. So we're describing the scene, right? And then you also learned that we can use it for reasons. So he was late for work because he kept on talking. He was talking too much. Oops, I kind of gave a spoiler for one of our answers. So let's get into our questions, okay? So the first one was, 我8点时正在吃早餐. So how would we talk about this morning, right? And I tell you a specific time. If I tell you a specific time, I can use the past continuous, right? If you don't have a specific time, past continuous is a little bit weird, okay? So using the time makes this okay and the best. Now, how would I change this to English? I would say, I was eating breakfast at 8 a.m. Or you could say, I was eating breakfast at 8 o'clock. Now, why would you want to say something like this? Well, maybe someone asks you specifically, hey, where were you at 8 a.m.? Maybe the police are asking you a question. Oh, I was at home. I was eating breakfast at 8 a.m. So they want to know at that time, what were you doing? So I was eating breakfast at 8 a.m. You could also say, we don't need to say eating. You could also say, I was having breakfast at 8. So for 8 o'clock, we could say 8 a.m. We could say 8 o'clock. We could just say 8. Now, remember, we need to use the word at. I was eating breakfast at 8 a.m. So if it's at a time on a clock, we use the word at. That was a D. A-T. There we go. Next up. 爸爸爬山的时候看到熊. Ooh, a little bit scary. Now, this one was a little bit more tricky. The 8 o'clock breakfast, almost everybody got perfect. Good job. This one is a little bit tricky, the one about dad. Dad, oh God, you got to be careful. So I would translate this to, Dad saw a bear when he was hiking. So this is talking about what was ongoing, what was the background event, and then what thing happened. So Dad saw a bear when he was hiking. When he was hiking is the background event. He was hiking and then boom, suddenly he saw a bear. Oh my gosh. So maybe he needs to be careful. But if it's a Taiwan black bear, maybe he can just take some photos, right? Okay. Now, there are many ways to translate this, right? You can also flip it around. You could also say, when my dad was hiking, he saw a bear. So we can flip it around. Dad saw a bear when he was hiking, or when my dad was hiking, he saw a bear. So remember, whatever you do, whatever you put first, remember the first one needs to be who it is. You need to say my dad or dad. Both are okay. Or you could say my father. I have a friend who always says my father. It sounds a little bit formal, but it's fine too. He might say, my father saw a bear when he was hiking. That's great too. But a lot of people will be a little more casual and say my dad. But remember, the first time you say the person, you need to say who it is. So dad saw a bear when he was hiking, or when my dad was hiking, he saw a bear. So the first is my dad, second is he. Okay? Now, I use the word hiking. A lot of you use the word climbing. This is okay translating from Chinese to English, but it's a little bit different. In English, the words hiking and climbing are a little bit different, and it really depends on what you mean. Hiking means you're on foot. Maybe you're walking up the mountain. And hiking can be a lot of exercise, but it's not as crazy as climbing. If you say climbing, this is very, very serious adventure. Climbing sounds like you're putting your hands over your fists and you're climbing like this. Maybe you're going up the side of a mountain climbing. And climbing, maybe you need special equipment. Maybe you need ropes and you need a helmet and you need like those sticks to help pull you up. So if you say climbing a mountain, it sounds much more serious. Most of the time, when people say 爬山, what they really mean is hiking. So I like to go hiking. Maybe you walk upstairs, you walk up a steep hill, but climbing is very, very serious. I have a friend who climbed a huge mountain, and he climbed through the snow and climbed over rocks. But for me, I don't want to do that. I just want to go hiking. So hiking is more relaxing. Climbing is very serious. So a lot of people use climbing, but for 爬山, you could translate it to hiking or climbing, but be careful, what do you mean? If it's your dad's probably just going hiking. Maybe if it's a 25-year-old, he's going climbing up rocks. So climbing is a lot more serious. Okay. Next up is 比利迟到了，因为他刷牙刷太久. Now this one was probably one of the hardest ones in all of these examples because there's so many ways to translate this. But using the skills that we learned here, it was about using the past progressive tense, right? And so in giving a reason for why he was late. There are many ways to translate this to English, but if you want to use the past progressive, past continuous for a reason, then we can do it this way, or this is how I would translate it. Billy was late because he was brushing his teeth for too long. So we have what happened. Billy was late. And then we have our reason. Why? Billy was late because he was brushing his teeth for too long. Okay? So that's the reason. He was brushing his teeth for too long. Okay? So you could say this many different ways. Another way to say this would be, Billy was brushing his teeth for so long that he was late. It's flipping it over. So giving the reason first, and then what happened. Billy was brushing his teeth for so long that he was late. Billy, you don't need to brush your teeth for an hour. Your teeth will turn to goo. Jeez. So there are many ways to say that he was doing it for a long, long, long time. And I saw a lot of you write many different answers. So you could say for too long, or for so long that, blah, blah, blah. So I said for so long that he was late. You could also say for a long time. And I saw someone did a great job of using exaggeration. To exaggerate means make it really big, 夸大, make it really crazy. You could say he was brushing his teeth for 1,000,000 years. So he was brushing his teeth for 1,000,000 years. That's a great one. Okay. Now, those are ways we could use past continuous to show what Billy was doing. Now, you can say this other ways without past continuous, of course, right? Like I said before, there are many ways to say all of these sentences. So you could also say, Billy took too much time brushing his teeth. So you could say took time. So he took too much time brushing his teeth. That works too. Or you could say, Billy spent too much time brushing his teeth. So you don't have to use the past continuous for this sentence, but it works if you want to use it as a reason. He was brushing his teeth for too long. Okay. Next up is something that I would like to do, but we all get busy, right? And poor this guy. So the sentence in Chinese is 我本来想学吉他，但发现手指太短. There's a certain guy that's famous that might have this problem. I don't know. Don't tell him. So this poor guy, what could you say in English? You could say, I was going to learn guitar, but then I realized my fingers are too short. So maybe you have tiny little fingers and you can't touch all the strings. have you guys ever tried to learn guitar? Maybe some of you are great at guitar. I hope so. I was hoping to learn guitar, but then I kind of got busy. Kind of terrible, right? So we can all try to do better. It's something we wanted to do before, but for some reason it didn't happen. In this example, I was going to learn guitar, but then I realized my fingers are too short. Oh. Now, there are many ways to say this, right? If it's an intention, what you wanted to do, there are many ways to say it. You could say, I was going to learn guitar. So that means you put it in your mind and you decided, I am going to learn guitar. But then it changed. Oh, I was going to learn guitar, but I realized my fingers are too short. You could also say, I was thinking about learning to play guitar. So I was thinking about learning to play guitar. That works too. This is different than going to because thinking sounds a little bit less serious. Oh, I was thinking about it, but whatever. You could also say, I was hoping to learn guitar, but blah, blah, blah. So hoping is more wishful, like you're dreaming about it. You really, really wanted to. So that's a little bit stronger. You wanted to do it so bad. I was hoping to, but oh, my fingers, too bad. You could also say, I was planning to learn guitar. Planning, maybe you bought a guitar, you signed up for lessons, and that was your plan. But too bad, something changed. You realized no luck. Okay. And instead of realized, some people use found out or discovered that. Both these are okay too. I was going to learn guitar, but then I discovered that my fingers are too short. So that's a little bit different. And then we also have, I found out my fingers are too short. So realize sounds like it's internal, inside yourself. You're practicing, you're trying to practice, and then you just realize it by yourself. Found out means like maybe you're looking for something and then you find it. You're practicing and then, oh, you found out. Oh, too bad. Pause for a second. I have a couple questions coming in. What does certain guy mean? Certain guy. Where did we have certain guy? Well, the word certain means someone I'm thinking about. There's something I'm thinking about. Maybe, okay, I'm going to pull up some weird things. I have some of these little cute fruit birds, okay? And I have 3 of them. One's an apple, one's a pear, one's an orange. And then I could say, I'm thinking of a certain fruit. So certain means one of these 3. So if I say, I'm thinking of a certain fruit, can you guess which one? Well, if you guess the apple, you're right. So I'm thinking of a certain fruit. Certain means one particular thing. Maybe there are many out there, but I'm only thinking of one. So I might say a certain person. So I have a particular person in mind, okay? Maybe you want to paint your bedroom. You want to paint your bedroom a new color. And you go to the store and the guy shows you lots of different colors. And you say, I don't really like these. I only want a certain color. Maybe you only have one color in your mind. You already picked it. You're thinking of one. It's a certain one that you've decided on. Now, if you say a certain guy, I don't know exactly what the context is that you're talking about. It depends on the context. If you could leave a comment with what the sentence was for certain guy, I might be able to help. But certain is usually means you have one in your mind that you're thinking of. Okay. I have another question about hiking. So, is there a difference between I was going to hike and I was hiking? Yes, there is a difference. So, I was hiking is past progressive, meaning you were doing it. It really was happening. I was hiking when I saw a bear, or my dad was hiking when he saw a bear. And it really was happening. He was hiking when he saw a bear. But I was going to hike means you wanted to hike, but it didn't happen. So I was going to hike, but I hurt my leg. Hear the difference? So my dad was hiking and he saw a bear. So it really was happening. He was hiking and then something happened. He saw a bear. But if I say I was going to hike, that means it didn't really happen. I was going to hike, but I decided to sit at home and watch TV instead. So I was thinking about it, but it didn't happen. So this is the difference. So the past continuous for an intention, I was going to, means that it didn't really happen. Okay. So we finished talking about the guitar, right? So our next example was about Australia. So 他们本来打算去澳洲打工度假，但后来决定不去了。Have you ever gone to Australia on a working holiday? I have not, but it sounds like a cool idea. One of my old coworkers was thinking about it. I'm not sure if he did though. So I would translate this as they were planning to go to Australia for a working holiday, but then they decided not to go. So it's they, and so because it's they, we can't say they was. For they, it's plural, so they were. They were planning to go to Australia for a working holiday. So we have their destination, where they're going. They were planning to go to Australia. And then why goes after, to go to Australia for a working holiday. Okay? So this was their plan, what they wanted to do. But something changed, right? But then they decided not to go. So we have our past continuous for what they wanted to do, then past simple for what really happened. They decided not to go. Okay? Another way to translate this would be, they were planning to do a working holiday in Australia. You could also say they were intending to go on a working holiday in Australia. So both are okay. So you could go on a working holiday or go to Australia for a working holiday. Both are okay. So planning to go, planning to do a working holiday, intending to go to Australia, intending to do a working holiday. They were going to go to Australia. They were going to do a working holiday. All of these are okay. So the meaning is all very similar, slightly different, right? Planning means like you had it, the idea in your head, maybe step by step. Intending, you were thinking about it, but not really totally planned out. And they were going to means that it was set, the plan was to do that, but something changed, right? So the second part was, but then they decided not to go. There are a couple different ways to say this. You could say, they decided not to go. You could also say, they changed their minds. So to change your mind means you have an idea, but then you change your idea. So we can say, you change your mind. So they changed their minds. We use their and minds because there's a group of people. It's they, right? But if it's one person, we would say change his mind or change her mind. This was one person, like Jenny. Jenny was planning to go to Australia for a working holiday, but she changed her mind. So she changed her decision, okay? You could also say they didn't end up going. So to end up is like you reached a final point. So here, in the Chinese, we use the word decide. That's why I originally said they decided not to go. But you could also say they didn't end up going. Somebody put that in. That's good too. They didn't end up going. But this is a little bit less clear. it says they didn't go. If you say they didn't end up going, we know they didn't go, but we don't know why. If you want to say why, you could say they decided not to go, okay? Someone else has said they canceled the trip. That's okay too, but the meaning is slightly different. They canceled the trip. Cancel the trip sounds like they already bought their tickets or figured out exactly what they were doing and canceled it. Decided not to go is a little bit less intense. Now, finally was our dialogue, where we practice how to be very positive when you go to a party and try to have some fun even though you don't know anyone. Maybe you can meet a new friend. If you go to a party and you don't know anyone, you're probably not on your own. There might be other people who don't know people either, right? So you can just try to meet somebody new. Now, how do you meet somebody new if you're at a party and you feel awkward? Don't stay far away. Just get yourself close to other people and maybe someone will start talking to you. Or if you're feeling energetic, you can try to talk to somebody else, right? My advice to you, if you ever go to America, like go to a house party or something, or go to a gathering with lots of people you don't know, an easy solution, if you really feel uncomfortable, if they have a table with snacks or drinks, just stand close to that, right? It's that easy. There will always be people coming and going, and so if somebody comes up, you can try to say hello. Maybe if somebody grabs a snack, you could ask them, oh, does that taste good? Or if they're making a drink, you could say, oh, what are you drinking? Just simple questions like that. Or you could ask about the party, right? Lots of different choices. But, okay, so in this situation, we're feeling good, feel happy at the party, even though we don't know anyone, and then we meet Bob. And Bob is a nice guy, right? And then we learned a couple phrases of how to talk about yourself and about other situations. Okay, so in part 5, we have these 3 sentences. These ones were pretty easy, but there are many different ways to translate them, right? So the first one is 你的香蕉状很棒. So you're being really nice, you're giving someone a compliment. If you want to meet a new friend, a good way to start is say something nice to them, right? I would translate this as, your banana costume is incredible. So you're trying to be super nice. You want to compliment someone and be really, really, really nice, right? So I use the word incredible. Your banana costume is incredible. Now, this is kind of rare. You're not going to go to many costume parties with people wearing bananas. So you could just change out the words. Maybe someone's wearing a nice dress. Wow, your dress looks incredible. Or your shirt is pretty. Or if someone's wearing a suit, your suit is amazing, right? There are many different words you can put here. And then there's a scale of goodness. We can talk about many different words that mean good to great. So just really quickly, if you're trying to compliment someone, you could start by saying something's not bad. Not bad's a little bit good. But if you're complimenting someone, not bad is not strong enough. Pretty good is kind of nice, but if you're complimenting someone, go stronger, right? So not bad, pretty good, and then good. Good is pretty general, positive, good feelings. But good is kind of boring, right? So we want to go more energetic, more happy. So we have good, then great, then awesome. Awesome is really, really good. And then we can keep going. You can get amazing or incredible. Or if something's super, super good, you could say something's insane. Insane means crazy. So it's so good, it makes you crazy. Wow, that was insane. Your costume is insane. It's amazing. So it's super, super good. If something is so good, your head will ba-boom, your head explodes. You could say something is mind-blowing. Your costume is mind-blowing. So mind-blowing means something so good, your head explodes. So, wow, your outfit is mind-blowing. So, it depends how nice you want to be. If you say someone's outfit is mind-blowing, that might be too nice. And they're like, whoa, do I look that good? I don't know. Okay, the next one is 我小时候很常吃苹果的. This is talking about what you used to do, what your old habits were, right? So you could say, when I was a kid, I used to eat apples all the time. So we can say this again many different ways. So another way to say it is, I used to eat apples all the time when I was a kid. Okay? You could also say, I ate apples all the time when I was a kid, right? So we can use used to or the past tense. Both are okay because we're talking about way back then. And by having when I was a kid, that makes it okay to use the past simple tense too. Used to, I used to eat apples all the time as a kid. If you use used to, it's suggesting that it's a little bit different now, right? But if you use past tense, I ate apples all the time, maybe you still do, right? It depends what the focus is. But in this situation, you can use both of them. You don't have to say I was a kid also. You could say when I was little. You could also say when I was growing up, okay? So that would be the past progressive. When I was growing up, I ate apples all the time, okay? So many different ways to put those words together to say the same thing, right? It's either used to or past simple. You could also use would always. When I was a kid, I would always eat apples. Or when I was a kid, I would often eat apples. Those are okay too. So a lot of these phrases, you can mix and match them. It's just what are you focused on? For used to, you're focused on there's a change. Past tense, it's just the past and it's over. It's back then. Okay? Now, the last one was 他不习惯看直播影片. What about you? Have you ever watched these kinds of videos? So, this is probably a new word for you. It's actually a new word for some of my friends too. I only learned this word maybe last summer. I learned it from my brother and his wife. This is one of the special things about English, right? English loves to steal words from other languages. So, this is an idea that came from Korea. And this idea is a video of someone eating food. And that's it. So, this kind of video is called a mukbang video. A mukbang is this kind of video, and the word comes from Korea. In English, we don't really just make new words a lot of the times. Sometimes we do make new words, but we also steal words from other languages. It's easier that way. Instead of saying, it's a eating video with guys eating, forget it. Just steal a word from Korean, say mukbang. So, this sentence, 他不习惯看直播影片. I would translate this as, he's not used to watching mukbang videos. So, this is our be used to. So, what you are comfortable with. Or maybe this guy thinks it's weird. So, he is not used to watching mukbang videos. And then he is squished together saying he's not used to watching mukbang videos. So this is one of the tricky things about used to and is used to. Because the is, we often will contract it. So sometimes it's hard to hear. He's used to, or he used to. So you got to be really careful and listen for that S sound. So he's not used to watching mukbang videos. You could also say he can't get used to mukbang videos. So he still is not used to and he can't get used to them. If you use get used to here, he can't get used to them. Maybe he's trying to get used to it, but he can't. Maybe this might be my brother's case. His wife likes mukbang videos and she shows them to my brother. But my brother said, no, it's too weird. So he can't get used to mukbang videos. Okay? So these are all of our questions, and hopefully you thought this was fun and interesting to try to translate these into English. Again, like I said before, there are many ways to translate these. And so a lot of you did an awesome job. There's just small changes to do, and be careful the difference between used to and is used to. Okay? But then simple past and used to can often be switched in and out. It's just what are you focused on, right? Okay. Now, I don't want to go too long tonight, so let's move on to a question that a student asked me today by text. He asked about something called a stop. He asked me a question. Well, of course, pause for a second. If anyone has any more questions about the practice questions in our lessons, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you as we go. But for now, let's take a break and move on to a question a student asked me before. So a student asked me about the word look, L-O-O-K. And he said, Mr. Kyle, the K is very quiet and hard to hear. It sounds like you're saying Lu. Actually, it's very close to that. So in English, if you're speaking natural English, you want to remember a lot of times the letters at the end of a word, the sound is very light. Sometimes it's hard to hear, or sometimes it's not there and you just get what's called a stop. So we're not going to go into it too much, but this is something you need to practice. So a lot of people, when they learn English, they see L-O-O-K. And so they see the K at the end and they think, okay, I need to say K or K, right? A lot of people, when they learn, they see K, and I really need to make that K sound. So a lot of people learning English will say, look. So I look at the picture. No. So the K at the end, you just need the K sound. And sometimes you don't even have that. It could be a stop. So L-O-O-K could be look. Look. There's a you can barely hear the sound of my K. That K at the end, actually, I stop the air coming out of my mouth. So I say look. So I stop the air and then make a little click sound for the K. Look. Okay? But it's not look. No. Not look. That's k. Too much. You don't need all that breathing. You can say look. So I look at the picture. Okay? So it's a very light sound. Now also, this is really common with the letter T. A lot of you have learned that you need to make a T sound. T. Please, you don't need to. In some accents, people will say a strong T. I have some friends from Canada that when they say T, it's a very strong T. Mountain. But in an American accent, there's often not a T sound there. It's this stop sound, where you stop the air coming out of your mouth. So a very simple example, the word C-A-T. How would you say this animal? Meow. Would you say cat? If you say cat, we got to work on it. It's not cat or not cat. You don't need to make your T's that strong. In a standard American accent, the T is a stop. Cat. Cat. So for me, often there's no T sound. Cat. I saw a cat over there. I don't go ca, but there's a quick stop with my breath. Cat. So you can kind of think that you're starting to make the T sound, but then you stop all the air coming out of your mouth. Another word is A-T-E. Did you have lunch today? Yes, I ate. We don't say I ate lunch. You don't need to push air out of your mouth. Don't say I ate lunch. Definitely don't say I ate lunch. No. There's no vowel there. Some people will say I ate lunch, but you don't need to say it so strong. You can say I ate lunch. There's that stop. You stop the air coming out. I ate lunch. Or I ate a pizza. Okay? So this T is often a stop. Another example is the word mountain. We just talked about Dad hiking, right? Where did Dad go? Now, I bet a lot of you would say, my dad hiked a mountain, right? A lot of people will say, my dad hiked a mountain, or my dad was hiking on a mountain. But in a standard American accent, there's actually no T sound there. This is a stop. I would say a mountain. Now, this is hard for you, but it's a mountain. So there's mountain. So it's a M-O-U-N, stop, and then the N sound, mountain. So I don't say mountain, I would say I climbed a mountain. Mountain. Can you hear it? There's a mountain. So there's a M-O-U-N, stop, A-I-N, mountain. So there are a lot of words like this in English where there's a T maybe in the middle or a T at the end, and it's actually a stop. The K is kind of like it too. It's a stop with a K at the end. So look, or book. I read a book. So it's kind of just a stop. You don't need to say, I read a book. Don't do that. Don't say buka. Also the word good, G-O-O-D, good. There's a D sound there. There's the duh, but there's no vowel. We don't say gouda. If you say Gouda, that's a cheese, Gouda, G-O-U-D-A. So a lot of my students will say, I'm Gouda. And I say, are you cheese? But no, good. The D is a hard stop. Good. I feel good. Okay? So all of these final sounds, you need to stop really quick. Look, good, cat, fat, hat. Okay? There's a stop sound at the end. Okay? You just stop all the air in your breath coming out. Stop. Okay? Just like P too. Stop. You don't go stop. Stop. Okay? Okay. So let's stop here for now. Does anyone have any questions? I'll check the comments. Let's see. Got it. Thanks. Great. I can understand your explanation is certain. Good. So hopefully, if you have any more questions about certain, feel free to send me a message. If you have a sentence where I use certain, or maybe a sentence you saw in a book, feel free to text me, and then I can try to help you out. Why do they use certain in that sentence, okay? At certain times, we use certain words. It's a little bit tricky. Okay. Is all the time an exaggeration? Yeah, that would count as an exaggeration because you don't do anything for all of the time. If you say all the time, if you really, really meant it, it means like it never stops. I am breathing all of the time. Yeah, of course, but my friend is eating all the time. Is that true? No, of course not. We're exaggerating. He can't eat when he's asleep, right? If he's eating all the time, if I really, really meant it, that would mean he's sleeping and eating. No, but yes, it's exaggeration because you can't do anything for all the time. Okay. Kyle, could you explain the stop T and K? Okay. Hopefully my explanation was enough. If you want to know more, we can talk more about it next time. Next time I'm gonna talk about T and how T can sometimes sound like a D. I'll get into that next week. And then another good example, cotton, C-O-T-T-O-N. My shirt is made of cotton. We don't say cotton, you'd say cotton. So a lot of teachers, when they're teaching English, think, okay, I need to speak super, super carefully so my students know how to spell. Is that the right way to teach? I don't know. Maybe it's good if your students are writing and spelling. So a lot of teachers might say, my shirt is made of cotton. My shirt is made of cotton. If you take a test here in Taiwan and do the listening test, that's how they'll talk. But do people really talk that way? Not really. The T will be a stop, and the D is a little bit more subtle. Like, my shirt is made of cotton. So, my shirt is made of cotton. You can hear a little bit of the T and the D, but they're both kind of stops, okay? So that's something you can work on, you can practice. Anytime a word has a final consonant, K, P, T, D, those kinds of letters, you don't want to add a vowel. Don't say P, K, D. It's going to be P, like a very quick stop, okay? Any more questions from anybody? So far, not much. Okay, I'll give you another second to leave a question. Let's see if I missed anything. Okay, well, we're gonna pretty much wrap up here. I hope everyone enjoyed our first conversation, this positive personality, the way they go about their day. Next up, conversation 2 is our crazy person who is too emotional. Some of my relatives are like this. So I'm inspired to show you what some of my relatives are like. Oh, it was a disaster. Ah! They go crazy about everything. So hopefully you're not like that. But in conversation 2, we'll see someone who can't handle what's going on. They really want to run away. They want to bail on the party. Bailing means run away, right? So hopefully, if you go to a party like this, you won't bail. Okay. Looks like no more questions for now. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a text or leave a comment leave a comment with this video, and then I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, okay? And if anyone wants to chat with me one-on-one, you have a chance right now. I'll be here, and maybe we can chat for about 5 minutes or so, one-to-one. And if you want to chat with me one-on-one, send a message to the Kyle Moai profile, okay? I'll be on there and give you a call, okay? Well, thank you very much, everyone. And let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if there's any suggestions you have for this kind of stream and what you would like to see in the future, okay? Have a good night, study hard, rest up for the morning, and I'll see you next time. Good night. Bye-bye.